This is ridiculous. I can't believe I talked Sweetwater into this nonsense. In these two guitar case-sized boxes, I've got a pair of G&L Comanches. Now, they're not the exact same Comanches. One is a tribute coming in at $699, and one is a Fullerton Deluxe coming in at practically $2,000. I think they're like $19.95 or something like that. And the premise, the goal of this video is to do some comparisons side by side to figure out what the difference is between these two price points of G&Ls. I've never actually got to compare a Fullerton Deluxe versus a Tribute in store before. I've picked up a lot of Tributes off the wall and be like, oh yeah, these are great. But I've never had the opportunity to do a direct comparison like this before. Also, I'm not sure I've ever gotten to pick up one of these Comanches that has a wiggle stick installed. They always have the wiggle stick left off when they're on the wall at a guitar shop. So I'm excited to check out the trims that come on these guitars. So anyways, let's get into it. Let's unbox them and see what we've got here. I'm assuming this is the Tribute. Yep. We'll take a look at this one first. We've got a bag with the wiggle stick, an extra spring in case you want to have extra springs in your guitar, and of course, Allen keys. Here we go. Beautiful color. Yeah. 55-point inspection paperwork here. Oh, that's a pretty guitar. I got to pick the colors. I'm assuming that they sent the color I picked on the Fullerton Deluxe. There we go. There is the Tribute. Let's get the Deluxe out now. By the way, I'm not going to keep this guitar because I'm going to give it away to one of you. If you want to know how I'm going to give it away or who I'm going to give it away to, then you need to tune in for the 60 Cycle Hum 500th podcast episode that we're going to do live on October 22nd, 2023. If those dates sound like the past, then you've already missed it. So immediate, obvious difference in price point is the Tribute did not come with any sort of case, and the Fullerton Deluxe came with this gig bag situation here. Ah, that color. I don't get to keep this one either. This one gets returned to Sweetwater. That color. Oh, baby. Is that where the price difference is? Isn't the finish? Oh, man. That coppery orange misty metal flake there. Yes. I have a feeling the camera's not going to capture exactly what I'm seeing here. It's never perfect. I mean, obviously, seeing something in person always hits different than seeing it on your phone screen or your computer screen or your big screen TV if you're watching that way. How are you watching right now? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, the depth of that sparkle and just like the when you see it under lights. Nice. All right, might as well get started. I'm going to plug these in, I'm going to tune them up, and we're going to start doing comparisons. I've taken a little bit of time to tune them up and play them a little bit and take a close look at some of the details. And I'm sure I'm going to miss a few things, but I'm actually pretty surprised how many small differences there are in between these two guitars that are the same model. Just one is made in Indonesia and costs $699, and one is made in California and costs nearly $2,000. $1995 is what I'm remembering on this. We'll just call it $2,000 and we'll call this $700. So let's start going through the differences. And then I'll plug them in and we'll see if there's any sound differences. I will, as a first note, I will be adjusting the pickup height on these. before we do sound comparisons because I did a quick measurement and these are closer to the body. I could tell just by looking at it, but I did measure it. These are closer to the body than these are, so I will match this setting on here before I show that sound difference. I have a feeling there won't be much sound difference once I adjust the pickups because as far as I can tell from the literature and from the website and stuff, they both use the same model G&L Z coil. I don't think they have different tiers of that pickup. Maybe we'll see a difference when we crack open the pick guard, which I'm going to do, by the way. I'm going to open up the pick guards and the back plates and stuff like that, and we'll have a look inside so we can see if there's any differences there. But yeah, let's start going through the differences. I'll go tip to tail like I tend to do. I wish I had something that would hold both of them horizontal for me. I'm trying to figure out how to do this without accidentally bumping the guitars into things. I need a way to hold them both horizontal so I can show off both headstocks at the same time. I'll just put pictures up. How about that? So, headstock comparisons. They're both the exact same shape of headstock, but one's got more premium logo treatment. You get the name Comanche on the headstock. On the Fullerton, you get more just kind of generic logo print on the Tribute. As far as hardware goes, the tuners on the Fullerton are absolutely nicer. They are G&L branded, where the Tributes are generics. They are like a premium split top tuner with this really interesting like fluted design. I haven't seen these before. They are unique to G&L, I'm assuming, but super duper high gloss, super duper smooth and firm as I was tuning them. I was impressed. They feel really, really premium. These are just pretty standard closed back tuners on here. They're not bad. There's nothing wrong with them. They just don't feel premium. They are giving you a more premium experience for that $1,300 difference between these two guitars. Did I do my math right? Yeah, $1,300 difference. I'm not going to call out any differences in the string trees. They're string trees. They're fine. Both of them are fine. There's no big differences there. You get a bone nut that is highly polished and glossy on the Fullerton here. Yeah, that's beautiful. Very well dressed. And then on the Tribute, some kind of graph-techy, tusky sort of material here. Not bone, some sort of synthetic, but not cheap plastic. A little bit of burring going on around the strings as they pass through. Yeah, what? This is a premium nut, and this is a much more standard nut situation on the Tribute, which should not be a surprise at the price point differences. I will say, having played with them a little bit, the finishing on the Fullerton is definitely better on the neck. It is a perfectly velvety smooth, soft to the touch, no bumps, no irregularities to find whatsoever across the back of this neck. It feels fantastic. Where the Tribute, you can feel the price point. You can feel the difference in the price point, which was interesting to me. It's got more of a rough texture to it. It's not bad. It's not off-putting. I probably wouldn't have noticed it if I didn't have a direct comparison here. But there is a difference in the feel of the finishing. Like this has more of it's closer to like a raw wood feel. It's not raw wood, but it like you can feel that it's rougher, and it's not as velvety smooth. I'm trying to figure out if the necks feel different shapes. I think this one's a little bit slimmer. The Tribute feels just a little bit chunkier in my hand. Yeah, it feels like a slightly fuller neck off the back of it, slightly rounder off the back of the neck shape. So if you want a slimmer feeling neck, then you've got to pay $1,300 more. If you want a fuller feeling neck that's a little bit rougher, not as velvety smooth, but you like the fullness, then you're in luck. You're going to get the $699 one. The frets, clear differences with the frets. Like, these are dressed very well, especially for a $700 guitar. Totally fine. More than acceptable for that price point. But these push into that premium fret dressing. They are hyper chromy, bright, polished, shiny hand chrome. Really nice, smooth rounding on the edges of the frets. They both have similar gauge fret wire. As far as I can tell, they seem to be the same gauge fret wire, but just the finishing and the dressing on the Fullerton is so much more premium. Like, functionally, it's a guitar. You're gonna play it. Unless I find dead spots on one of them, they're probably made out of the same metal, same gauge fret wire, but yeah, you're getting a premium experience with these hyper glossy, glassy, polished, shiny, and chrome frets on the Fullerton. The transition from neck to headstock is smoother on the Fullerton as well. It's a bit more abrupt and more of a machine cut sort of experience on the back of the Tribute. So different neck cut going on there. We already established that this has a rounder feeling neck. So they are different specs on the neck. Looks slightly more rounded in this area as well, just slightly. It's like a difference in like 2 or 3 more minutes of sanding to get this one as smooth as this one is right here. Where up here, that's more of like a design difference decision. Like, this is much slimmer, that transition there. Something that is very interesting to me, because they're the same model, and it's not like they're exactly reinventing the wheel with the body shape here, there is a difference between the cut of these two bodies. And it's slight. It's something you probably would never notice. Maybe even if you did own a Fullerton and a Tribute at the same time, you might not even notice this. The edge of the body is rounder along the edges. There's just a bit more of a stark curve on the edge of the rounding of the Tribute, where you get a softer curve on the edge of the Fullerton. I think that's very interesting. They're using different router bits or CNC bits or something like that to cut these two different bodies. Little details like that. They don't make one guitar better than the other, but they make them different, which, you know, gives you a different impression from price point to price point. Sometimes it's not about being better or worse, because that really, I mean, that's personal preference. If you prefer a rounder edge, you can probably find it on cheaper guitars. But they decided that the rounder edge would be on the premium California-made version versus the import version. It's all personal preference. There's really no benefit one way or the other. I mean, I'm sure someone could argue one way or the other. Something that I thought was interesting is that the neck plate on the Fullerton here is noticeably thinner than the neck plate on the Tribute. It's also branded, where the Tribute has an unmarked neck plate, but that's interesting. It is like, not half, but it's maybe like 2/3 the thickness. Little details to differentiate price points. It's very interesting to me. The bridge hardware, it functionally seems to be exactly the same. Oh, you know what? No, I was wrong. The saddles on the Fullerton are much, much higher gloss, especially on the forward-facing part of the saddle, where there is a bit of an orange peel and a more like squared off sort of thing going on the Tribute. Interesting. They do have two different classes of bridge hardware. The posts are different as well. These are more rounded and they're more chromy. They match the chrome of the bridge, where these are, they're like more of like a mushroom cap. And they're not chromy. Also, the little, the part here that the arm goes into is not polished on this bridge versus this bridge. Are there other differences? These are the things where you're looking at pictures online on the listings and you can't see these differences. You have to have them in your hands comparing side by side. It's so weird. It is like, it's the same design of bridge, but it totally is slightly different parts. How strange. And those little differences do give a higher impression of quality on the more expensive guitar. Is that price difference for those details worth it to the consumer? For some it will, for others it won't. That's why we're doing this, to explore this. Output jacks seem to be exactly the same. On the back, you can see we've got a brass block in the Tribute. And in the Fullerton, there is a chromed block. Not sure what the materials difference is there, but we'll crack these open at some point in the video. Are the strap buttons different? They are a little bit different. This is such just nitty-gritty, cork sniffery stuff that I'm going through here. On the control plate, we do have a difference in that you have a switch here that you do not have here. This switch gives you the option to have the neck and the bridge on at the same time, so you can have all pickups on if you want. You do have that option over here, but it is a push-pull, which is, you know, it's a little bit harder to engage a push-pull, especially with those slippery strat knobs. I always prefer a push-push, but some people say that push-pushes don't stand up quite as well. They fall apart easier, they break easier and stuff. But I do prefer a push-push just for convenience. But, I mean, having a little toggle there is absolutely faster. But you get the same functionality. The pots seem to have the same exact physical resistance. So I'm assuming they're using the exact same pots inside these two guitars. I'm pretty sure I already mentioned before I do a sound comparison, I'm going to adjust these pickups to match the height of these pickups. An interesting difference. The switch on the Fullerton seems to be a lot more premium to me. Some of you will be skeptical of that. A premium switch, you say. How does a switch feel and look more premium? Well, it's shorter, and the switch tip fits perfectly on it, and it's snugged down all the way where it needs to be. And it just has a more satisfying, like, sensational situation going on here. Like, there's a tactile element that just feels better, maybe just because it feels different. Usually I'm playing guitars that are fairly budget, so I'm used to this exact switch here. Maybe just the fact that this feels different makes me think it's premium. But over here we have a switch tip that is not fitted perfectly onto the switch. It's got quite a bit of room to go down there, but I have a feeling it's all the way on. It's just mismatched with the switch itself. It's taller, which it almost interacts with the trim arm there. I press the trim arm a little bit and it interacts with the middle position. So that's not fantastic. If I owned one of these guitars, I would end up bending these arms up and out a little bit anyways, just for my personal preference. So that wouldn't really bother me long term. But for someone that likes a bar to be lower, that would be pretty irritating. And it just has a very pedestrian, everyday feeling 5-way switch here. What else? I can't tell any difference between the pick guards. I think this one is more parchmenty, and this one is a bright white moto perloid sort of situation here. The finishes, the luster on the Fullerton exceeds the luster on this. Like, this is a pretty finish. This nice peacocky green, kind of aquamarine sort of color here. It's very pretty, and it has the same weight of metal flake to the metallic nature of it. But there's just something about this where the shine of it, the polish of it is so much more. It just pops so much more. It might have to do with the color being different, but no, like I am getting like much higher in vibes from the shine and from the feel and just from the general appearance of this finish. There's a little bit more of a murk to the clear on this. It doesn't have that luster. All right, I am gonna adjust those pickups and then I'll finally play them and we'll see if there's any sound differences. And then I'm gonna crack them open. We're gonna take a look underneath the pickguards and see if there's any major differences going on. You finally get to hear a guitar in this guitar video. And just because you waited so long and so patiently, I'm gonna give you extra 2 Princeton's jingle. There you go. You earned it. That's what I'm running through. 2 Princetons. That's where the sound comes from in this video. So let's get into it. You might be looking at the control layout on this guitar and be thinking, oh, that's just a pretty standard S-type guitar control layout, isn't it? With a volume control and 2 tones and a 5-way switch. I know it has a little extra thing here, but come on, that's your standard stuff. No! There's extra stuff going on here that you might not understand yet. I know that in previous times that I've picked up G&L guitars, I didn't understand it, but I know about it now, so I'm looking forward to showing it off. I mean, you can already tell there's something different going on here just by looking at the pickups. These are Z coils. Each pickup is 2 single coil pickups in a hum canceling position, but because they're not stacked, you know, like a humbucker, it's not a humbucker sound, and they're not wired like a humbucker. They're wired to cancel the hum, but give you a single coil tone. It's cool. It's like classic eccentric Leo Fender design stuff. In the control area here, we've got 2 tone controls, but it's not like a normal S-type guitar. It is a passive high and low cut filter system. You get to control your highs and your lows and explore all sorts of weird sounds in between. And then of course, we've got the switch there to engage both the neck and the bridge at the same time, and then a pretty standard volume. That's the most normal thing going on here. So I'm gonna guide you through all the pickup sounds, and then I'll twiddle the knobs a little bit, and then we'll start doing comparisons against the 2. All right, here is the bridge pickup. Bright and twangy ice pick piercing highs from that bridge pickup. Here is the number 2 position. Warm and quacky. Middle position. Number 4. I like a nice number 4 position. Here is the neck. And then, of course, the neck and the bridge together. I like that. And then all of the pickups together with the switch in either the number 4 or the number 2 position with that little switch up. That's actually pretty nice. just the neck and the bridge again. Just the neck. Number 4. Middle. Number 2. And the bridge. Right, now those 2 tone controls. Here is what I think is the high cut. Yep. Watch this. A nice, like, kind of fast wah sort of sound going on there. I like that. Let's start with a little bit of dirt from the Wampler Bell. And now the other knob, which will be the low cut. Yep, that's what it is. Ah, spaghetti western time with that. Let's get some reverb on that. And some trim, of course. If we're gonna do spaghetti western, we have to do some tremolo, right? Turn it up again. Let's try it on the neck pickup. Turn all that stuff off except for the drive. Low cut. I like the neck pickup with the low cut. Let's try it wide open again. As well. Very cocked wah sort of sound there. All right, now it is comparison time. Will we hear a difference between these 2 guitars that I'm assuming have the same pickups? Get down to the bridge. What riff should I play? Let's start with a chord. What chord should we pick? Let's just do my boring old go-to, great big open suspended G chord. Number 2. Middle. neck and bridge. Now all the pickups. Because I wasn't actively switching back and forth here in the moment, I'm not really going to be able to hear what difference there is until I'm editing it. Editing, Ryan, what do you think? Let's do just the single pickups by themselves. We'll do some riffs and we'll compare that with a little bit of drive from the 50-50. Here is the bridge pickup with that light drive. Middle position. Neck pickup. To my ear, right now in the moment in this room, the tribute sounds a little brighter, a little clearer to me, where this sounds smokier, a little bit more quacky, a little bit more of this low vocal, vowel, almost nasal quality to the pickups. It's hard to tell here in the room, but I have a feeling in post it's going to be a lot clearer what the differences are. But my question here, before I crack open the pick guards, is it because the pickups are different? I mean, these have different fretboard materials. Some people claim that rosewood sounds darker because it looks darker, and maple sounds brighter because it looks brighter. That's not the because, but you know, it's easy to tease that direction. But if these are exactly the same pickups, then there's something else causing the difference. It might even just be me not perfectly playing the same thing twice in the same place twice. It could be on me. It could be materials differences with the trim block. Are we going to have that discussion in the comments section? It could be the wood that's being used. It could be the thickness of the finish. It could be the fretboard material, like I mentioned. I'm not a tone materials denier across the board. I tend to think little things make little differences. It all adds up across the spectrum as far as what you feel from the instrument and then resulting in what you hear from the instrument. And I'm not going to say that this sounded worse than this, because it absolutely didn't. It just sounded different. I think the tonal qualities are all 100% personal preference. Like, there is not a $1,300 difference in between the sound of this guitar and the sound of this guitar. Unless you're in love with the sound of this guitar, then you need to pay more to get this. But if you like the sound of that guitar, you might even like it better than this guitar. You know, it's all so subjective. All right. What should I do now? I want to test those wiggle sticks a bit. Oh, they dive. I dove all the way. I'm sure I'm out of tune now. Let's get some delay on there. Oh, it gets wacky, doesn't it? I like that. It obviously has that dive bomby, stratty sort of range on there, but it's really nice and firm. That arm sits in there very smooth and comfortable. It's not going anywhere. It sits where you leave it. The action is really smooth. The thinking behind this trim design is that they have these big, fat, thick posts, hoping that a maximum amount, an increased amount of vibration from the strings will make it through the bridge and those posts into the body. I don't know how that science adds up, if it's measurable or not, but it's a cool looking bridge. It feels really, really glassy smooth. I like the feel of that. It's set up to float right now. I don't know how this would function if you dropped it down to rest on the body. I'm typically a fan of having my Strat style trims rest on the body just very, very lightly to return to tune. But it's floating really nice there. It's set up really well. Let's try the trim on the Tribute, and then I'll start taking them apart. Actually getting a bit of a rattle here. I wonder if I can tighten that up with just a quick adjustment. No, still getting a little bit of a clunk. Or a clank. What's doing that? So I have a feeling if I spent the time to do a setup on this, I could get that clunk dialed out. Is that a price difference issue? Final setup before it goes out the door? Possibly. Going just one direction, it feels nice and smooth. There's something about when you pull it back. bit of a clink and a clank. All right. Now I'm going to take some close-up photos that I need for post, and then we're going to put these on the table and we're going to do an autopsy. We're going to take a look under the hood to see if there's any significant differences in between these two different price-pointed G&Ls. Things are about to get serious. Time to open this guy up. I think I'll put a fresh set of strings on this one. So I'm not going to bother trying to save the strings. Since it's going to a viewer, someone's going to win it when we do our 500th episode of the podcast live stream on October 22nd, 2023. I hope you don't miss it. This has been a fun video so far. I'm glad that Sweetwater agreed to this. I've said this before many, many times, but I really enjoy working with Sweetwater as a sponsor. Not just because they're putting money in my pocket, they're paying my demo fee and stuff like that, but because I pitched a wild idea to them and they're like, yeah, let's do it. I pitched to them like, hey, send me these two very different price points of the same brand and I'll give one away. And they're like, yeah, sure. That's a great idea. I'm not working with anyone else right now that enables me to make this type of content. So yeah, love working with Sweetwater. Please show them some thanks. Show them some gratitude for this content. Unless you hate it, why are you still watching it if you hate it? But go down to the links, click the links. Even if you're not, planning on buying anything, just click the links so they see some activity coming their way from this video. I mean, they're Sweetwater. They get millions of clicks every day. I'm sure they won't notice, but I'll notice. I'll see it on my stats, on my side, and it'll make me feel good. You want me to feel good, right? Maybe you don't. All right, here we go. What are we going to find underneath the pickguard of this $700 G&L Tribute? Fairly standard kind of roughness here in the routing. You see that on all sorts of price points of guitars. Interesting. You got some extra wiring options hiding here behind these Z coils. I bet that if you hit up someone like Gun Street Wiring Shop, or like, hey, what can you do with a Comanche? They'd have all sorts of wild ideas. Big metal plates on the back sides of these pickups so we can't see what's going on in the guts. Not totally surprised by that. It's not the best soldering ever, but it's certainly not the worst. I want to take a peek in the spring cavity as well, just to see what's going on back there. I should have done that first. It's interesting to me that there is a brass trim block in the Tribute versus what appears to be some sort of chromed trim block, maybe chromed steel or something like that. Pretty standard stuff in there. Lots of room to crank down those springs, that's for sure. And it came with an extra spring in case you want to really tighten down that block. A difference I didn't point out earlier is that the Tribute has a single ply back plate on it, while the Fullerton has the same 3-ply material as you see on the pick guard. You've got Moto 3-ply back here. Not that that makes any real difference in the function or the playability of the guitar, but it is an extra little detail. All right. This is why I like those split top tuners. I can loosen them and I can put them back on later. You just pop out the little pigtail there and it slides right back in when I'm done taking a look underneath the pickguard. Now I will say that this fretboard looks like it needs hydration. It is pretty dry. I'm not going to do it because I am sending this back to Sweetwater, and you know, I'm sitting here taking it apart right now, and I'm assuming someone else is gonna buy it after Sweetwater, you know, redoes the setup on it. But I don't want to go applying oils and stuff to a guitar that is going to end up being sold to someone. I'll let Sweetwater make that call. But if I was keeping it, I would be hydrating this fretboard right now just to see. It feels fine. It doesn't feel dry. It's just a very light piece of rosewood as it looks right now. And I wonder how much it would darken up. Okay, I should check the trim cavity first. Someone out there is going to buy this and then maybe they'll find out that it was the exact guitar in this video, and they're going to watch me taking it apart and be like, oh no, why did that guy do all that stuff to my guitar? Or maybe they'll be stoked. They're like, I've got the one that was in the video. Anything's possible. I am probably going to put up a photo that has the serial number on the back of the headstock. So whoever buys it, if they get wind, they will be able to figure it out pretty definitively. This is a small detail, but the Fullerton does use different screws than the Tribute. The Fullerton screws are smaller. It's amazing, all these tiny little differences. Like, I assumed they were going to be a lot closer. I just was like, oh, they're just going to have all the same hardware and like the woods and the setup, and maybe the finish is different. But I'm actually surprised how much is different. Glossier finish in the routing here. The routing just looks and feels a little bit cleaner throughout. Yeah, that chromy block there. Not sure what material that is. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's a spring cavity. It's a trim spring cavity. What were we expecting to find? I'm so nervous about accidentally dinging this with a slipped screwdriver or something right now. It's the last thing I want to do. I think the Tribute might have been a return to Sweetwater because it didn't have the plastic protective film on the pickguard. Someone already pulled that off. Maybe it was a floor model or something like that. Anything's possible. Here we are. What are we going to find? Is it going to be drastically different, or is it going to be pretty much the same stuff? The soldering does look cleaner to me. And the pickups look the same. I think they're the same pickups. Same backplate on them. Same extra wire thing going on here. Looks like the same color coding for the wires. I think it's the same pickups. Maybe they do have a Tribute version of the Z-Coil that uses a different magnet, or maybe the coils are wrapped a little different or something like that. But I don't know why they would do that. If they're building them all the same way in the same place, I think they're putting the same pickups in there. Different pots. These are marked Mighty Might, and the Tribute has alpha pots. Different switch. Well, we already know that. There's a different switch in here. Different components right here on that last tone control for the high pass filter. So maybe they're just being more particular with the values, stacking some components here to get it exact, or maybe they are totally different values. Obviously, this is not a push-pull pot like on the Tribute. But yeah, this looks cleaner overall. There's a lot less extra wire going on. They've got it trimmed up a bit nicer. They're both fine. They're both totally fine and totally acceptable. No issues, no problems there. Let's have a look at the route. Some bumpiness. This is where the body was resting on a block when it was being sprayed or something like that. You can see the wood through it. But yeah, it's totally clean, totally fine. This doesn't have the shielding paint that the Tribute has, though. The Tribute has shielding paint throughout. Let's see if I can put this together without screwing up the finish in some way. Pretty bold of Sweetwater to agree to let me do this, to agree to let me take a guitar apart just to do it when they need it back. It's one thing if I get to keep it and I screw up my own guitar. But they're trusting me with a $2,000 guitar here to get it back to them in the same condition that they delivered it to me in. Thank you, Sweetwater. Everyone thanks Sweetwater down in the comments for me. Well, I learned a lot. How about you? Honestly, before I opened these up, I'm not sure I could have told you what the difference was between a USA Fullerton G&L Comanche and an Indonesian Tribute Comanche. In photographs, they look incredibly similar. Same style hardware, same style pickups, all sorts of details line up. But then in person, up close, there's all these little things that just add up to a more premium experience with the Fullerton, where it's like, yeah, I've had a bunch of experiences with tributes, trying them in stores and stuff like that. And I've always been impressed. I've always thought they were great guitars, but I don't have a lot of experiences with USA made G&Ls. But now I have this frame of reference as far as what the quality differences are. And yeah, I could this is going to be a whole argument in the comments section. This is a great guitar. Totally functional. Sounds great. Plays great. You could play this the rest of your life. It could be your only guitar. I would sign off on that. It's a great guitar. But the $1,300 difference in between this and this comes down to pleasure factor. It comes down to the experience of the person holding it. The frets are just nicer. The finish has more luster to it. It's shinier. The hardware feels nicer. The switch feels nicer. This arm doesn't have the slight rattle that this one has. And I haven't figured out if that's something that can be dialed out. I don't know. The neck feels more premium. The finishing feels more premium across the board. The edges are rounder. All these little details add up to a more premium experience. Does it change the functionality? No. Does it change the sound? Maybe. It was really hard for me to tell in person if I have any preference whatsoever in between the two sounds. They both sound great. This one sounds a little bit brighter and twangier to me. This one sounds a little bit throatier and darker to me. I tend to like bright sounds. I was having fun with the sounds out of this, but I was also having a lot of fun with the sounds out of this. Like, that's such a personal preference sort of situation there. It's so subjective. But the details that are not subjective, like the quality of the tuners, the quality of the nut, things like that, they've done the work to put this and keep this at a higher price point while providing a really great, really solid, more affordable option that can be sold alongside it. I have to admit, I am impressed, and I'm kind of a little bit addicted to that low cut that's on both of them. I was really leaning into that on that Wray Jam there. Can I put that on other guitars? Can I hack that into some other guitars? I don't really care about like the low pass there, but that high pass, I like that bright, nasty sort of sound you can get with that high pass filter. I know I was probably calling it low pass a second ago, but this one that makes it brighter, the Make Brighter knob. Every Strat should be like that. I know these aren't Strats, but you know what I mean. Every S-type guitar, instead of having two weird tone controls, they should have these two tone controls that make more sense. I like them. What do you guys think of the Z-coils? There wasn't a 60 cycle hum this whole video. And they sounded like single coils. It's a brilliant design. It's like, that's pure Leo Fender weirdness. Like, he never designed a guitar that had the same pickups as any of his other guitars. Every time he designed a guitar, it's like, let's start over with the pickups. Okay, Leo, why not? A different type of pickup for every single guitar. Why shouldn't we do that? But yeah, what do you guys think? What's the debate? What's the fight going on down in the comments section? I have to admit, if I was going to plop down money right now, if I was going to be like, I'm going to invest in one of these guitars and it's going to be a guitar that I play, let's say minimum 10 years. Minimum 10 years. You know, let's shorten that. Say minimum 5 years of playing as like regular use in my quiver of guitars. I would invest. I would personally invest the extra money to have that pleasure factor, that higher quality experience that comes with all the little details adding up with the Fullerton. That's where I am in my life right now. You might not be there. You might never be there. You might be somewhere in your life where you're like, I'd never go budget. I'm always going to go high end. That's fine too. Be responsible with your money. Know what your budget is. Buy what makes the most sense for you. Or don't buy anything at all. That's always an option. But if you are going to buy, please use my link down below. It's an affiliate link. It helps me out. I'm not keeping either of these guitars. I'm doing this just for the demo fee. But I'm also doing it to put this one in the hands of a fortunate viewer, a lucky viewer. There's no contest that I'm going to announce. You simply have to watch the 60 Cycle Hum 500th podcast episode that's going to air live. It's going to be live on YouTube, October 22nd, 2023. Like I said earlier, if that date sounds like it's in the past, then you're too late, and I'm sorry. But if it sounds like it's in the future, put it on your calendar. Tune in. It might be you. Probably won't be, because it can only be one person. But huge thanks once again to Sweetwater for making cool videos like this possible. No one else that I'm working with makes this type of video possible. It's because Sweetwater is cool. It's because they listen to creators like me when we have wild ideas and they go, yeah, we can help make that happen. So huge thanks to Sweetwater. Thank them, like I said, by clicking the links down below. And you know what? Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, dislike, leave me a rude and nasty comment. Support us on Patreon. Buy a shirt if you're naked, and stay grounded. Bye, everybody.